Welcome to the show. This is the Tone Deaf Dakota show. And just to keep it straight with you for today, I'm only doing one thing. I got to talk about Akai. Here's the thing Akai decided to get rid of the Force. Is that a good thing? It can be. It can be a good thing. The problem is that too many people bought this thing. I'm one of those people. I bought it brand new, not used, when it was $1,200. That might have been 20, kind of like when the pandemic kind of started, 2020. So it's been about 4 years since I had it. Not sure when it originally came out. But here's the thing. I don't know what Marcus Elbow is doing. I'm pretty sure he's upset about this. And I'm pretty sure he put a video out. I hadn't watched it yet. So, Elbow, if you're watching this video, my bad, dude. But to be honest with you, I'm just trying to get people my feelings on this one, because this the crazy thing is that, like, we really like this piece. A lot of us really like this piece. It samples. It time stretches amazing. The time, I don't know what they did inside the Force, but for some reason, and I don't know why. I guess I was the only person doing this, but I actually midied up the Force to my MP. I have an MPC live, and I midied the Force to my MP. And once I got the Force to receive MIDI clock, once I got it to do that, it was over with. It was over with. I was able to do everything I wanted to do. I could do like really, really amazing, especially syncing. Once it was able to sync, bro, this thing is amazing, especially with the samples. It time stretches, like, for some reason, it almost time stretches automatically. And this is before you chop up the sample. So if you're the type of person that chop up the sample, I can understand why the Force doesn't seem like a good idea. Because you're like, all right, there's a bunch of pads, but I need to chop up my sample. Where do I chop up my sample at? And I understand that. You know what I mean? Now, when I think of the Force, I think of if a traditional Akai product had like very underwhelming, unmeaningful spankings with Ableton, right? That's kind of how I talk to people about it. And the crazy thing is like, this thing would just on the money. Like, as soon as you got that MIDI clock in there, any sample you pull up, especially if it's like you're not sampling it in, it's on a file already. And like, say, you're anything like how like some of us got like sound packs. Any sample from a sound pack is automatically just going to be boom boom. It's going to detect it. It's going to give you tempo. It's going to give you key. It's automatically going to lock it in. And what the Akai Force tends to do is, it tends to, especially with things that you're just putting in, it'll double it. So if it's 70 BPM, it'll boost it up to 120. You feel what I'm saying? And the best thing to do, if you know how many bars it is, which is easy to figure out, once you figure out how many bars it is, you just correct the time on it, bring it back down. There's even a button on there where it's just like a /2, cut it in half, brings it back down to 70, and it's locked in. That sample is locked in. Whatever tempo you push that thing to, it's going to automatically push it to. You know what I mean? Um, and the only other thing that I can compare it to, if there was a comparison to something other than, Ableton, other than Ableton, right? Or the Push 3, right? Or even Move, right? And instead of those, I can't compare it to those. I really can't compare it to those three devices because the reason why is because the Force allow you to have a hard drive. You can put in an SSD into it. You know what I mean? And you can have on top of a SSD in the front, you can have an SD card. I put a 1 terabyte joint in mine, and I was just able to, because I have like over 500 gigs of Big Fish audio stuff, right? So I just bring it up, and it locks in, locks in, locks in. I'm like, if you got like a piano part and somebody just played it real quick, and you're not trying to do the guesswork, get that, drop it in. It'll just snatch. It just locks it in so perfectly. I don't know why, but man, hearing that it is discontinued is definitely disheartening. Do I think Akai is wrong with with um, with discontinuing it? No, because here's the thing, right? The MPC Live, the MPC X, the original two. And even before then, the Akai Touch, the MPC Live, the Akai what is that? The X, the Studio, and then the Force are all gone. Now, I don't know what they're doing with the Studio, the original Silver Studio, which was like just basically a pad, 16 pads, a bunch of knobs. That was it. USB straight to a computer, to your laptop, whatever. Um, and then also there was a black one that came along. That was second, right? Um, the MPC Touch um, was basically the Live before the Live existed, right? It wasn't standalone, but it was just straight a USB to your computer, two inputs in, two inputs out, pads. It had the little small screen, and I had that first, right? So I had to learn how to use the MPC software, right? Which was great. I loved it. And there's a lot of people that still have it. Mostly PC users, because on Mac users, it kind of went the way of the dodo because of the touchscreen. The touchscreen was messing up in Mac. Um, but as far as but the X is gone. They didn't replace they didn't give you a new X. They didn't give you a new Studio. They didn't give you a new Live, right? The only thing they didn't give you was a new Touch, which they didn't need to. You know what I mean? Because it was a good idea, but it just had a horrible execution. Um, and now they got rid of the Force, which kind of makes sense, right? Because all of the products that came in that era are gone. Now, the X and the Live, they still support. Do they support the Studio? Not sure. The Black Studio, I'm not sure. The Silver one, I'm not sure. Um, but the Live, the original Live, the OG Live, and the OG X are still supported. They're discontinued, but still supported. And if that's what Akai is going to do, like if they're going to still support this thing, then I'm not going to be sitting here mad like, "Oh my god, I don't believe Akai did this." Right? Even though I am sitting here going, "Oh my god, I don't believe Akai did this." But yeah, uh all that stuff is gone. So eventually this was going to go. It was going to go. It was just a matter of time. Now, I'm hoping that they're going to upgrade it, right? if they give it some more features, make it a little bit more streamlined, make it work a little bit harder. Y'all added some of the best features in the Force made it to the MPC. The Arranger, disc streaming. Those are the two main features, right? And the list goes on. We ain't gotta compare. This isn't a comparison video. But this is just a quick rant to let Akai know, like, yo, make sure y'all finish it. Do not have us up in the air waiting for more stuff. It still needs stem separation, right? It needs stems. It needs all the upgraded because I know you guys are coming out with new machines. You know what I mean? New Akai I guess you can call them VSTs, new Akai VSTs, right? Inside the standalones. It needs all of those. It needs all the effects. It needs all of those. I think at least before you stop support, because we're just talking about right now, they just discontinued it. But before you stop support, please, Akai, fix it. At least bring it up to speed where the MPC 215 is at, where they got stem separations, they got all that other stuff. If you can at least bring it up to there, you know, I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys are going to do something, because I noticed that you guys were merging the software. Even before the 3.0, you guys were already merging the software, because the actual, originally the Force software said Akai Force on it. Now it says Akai MPC on it. So you guys were already like pushing that envelope, and I was for it. I paid attention, right? But yeah, Akai, please finish this product, make it as dope as possible, because you already discontinued it. Just finish the software side. Give us at least stem separation. If you give us at least stem separation and the newer VSTs and stuff like that, or the standalone VSTs that you guys have, I think it's a go. I would be satisfied. I would be satisfied. And here's the crazy thing. I have two of them. So I'm kind of like, darn. You know what I mean? But yeah. And one of them I got to repair. One of them broke on me. And I've just been, I love that thing. I think it's dope. I don't think there's anything on the market like it. I think it's not comparable to anything, because when you did it at a great moment. You did it, Akai, you guys did this thing at such a great moment, right? And I'm pretty sure Pink Buddha, Marcus Elbow, and all the other dudes who have consistent videos on this machine will agree with me that you guys did this at a time when nobody else was even thinking about this. I don't even think Ableton was thinking about this. You know what I mean? A standalone, something that can be like Ableton. I mean, there's things in it that we need. Stem separation, definitely. All the upgraded VSTs. I want to be able to do what you do in Ableton, which is like in Ableton, you can take an Ableton set and put it in another project. If I can do that and build a bigger project, like take the Akai Force stuff that I'm doing, like a project, and load it into another project. If I can do that, bam, that machine will be one of a kind. If you're trying to make this thing iconic, that's what you do. You give it stem separation. You already gave it the arranger, so we been had the arranger, right? So that part's cool. We've had disc streaming. Disc streaming was a miracle. This thing needed disc streaming. Oh my God, this thing needed disc streaming. But and that might be the reason why it didn't sell as well, is because when you guys first came out with it, it was dope, but the backlash, you know what I mean? Because it didn't do, you know what I mean? It's almost like the the 5000, because when the 5000, the MPC 5000, when it first came out, everybody was like, "Yo, this is a great machine, but there's something wrong." And then once Just Blaze did his thing to it and said, "Yo, this thing needs help," like, yeah, no, people stopped buying them in Guitar Center. I know, I was there. So, yeah, um, I don't think that's gonna happen again. I mean, well, obviously it's kind of happened, but what I'm more saying is like, finish the product. You finished the 5000. You made the 5000 iconic. People who actually have it now are raving about it. They're like, yo, I can do everything on this thing. And that's what I just want, that same feeling. I want this thing to be iconic. And right now, at the current state, it's not iconic. It needs stem separation, right? Stem separation, the ability to load a project into another project. So I could be on a project, load in a whole nother project, because you got to remember, people want to use this not only create beats, but they want to take this and go out with it and go play out. Also, another thing, can you make it kind of like, because the one thing that I feel about the Roland SP404, right? One of the things I really feel about the SP404, this thing here, right, is that you USB it to a computer, and it's the drivers are automatically loaded, automatically. And I don't mean like it downloads drivers into the machine. No, it's already class compliant. So as soon as you plug it in, whether Mac or Windows or iOS, you automatically can use the inputs and outputs. So you can take this thing, right? Which I personally feel is the biggest competitor to the Force. If there was ever a competitor to the Force, this would be it, right? But this doesn't have what the Force has. But like I said, the one thing it does have is the ability to plug into a computer, and once it plugs into the computer sees it as a interface, and because it sees it as an interface, and you're still at the same time you can still make beats on it. Because of that, bro, you can sample directly from your computer. Don't have to do anything else. And I feel like the Force is something that can have that. That's something that the Force needs. Direct, class compliant, direct to a computer. And it does it for Windows, Mac, and iOS. I don't think that's too much to ask. Again, class compatibility without having, because see, what y'all got right now is when y'all plug USB into it, you have to switch it to controller mode. I don't want that. That's dope on the MPC. On the MPC, you need that. Why? Because you have software that goes with it. This thing, you don't need that. This thing needs, once you plug it into it needs to be class compliant, directly to my PC, directly to my Mac, directly to my iOS. And I should be able to sample direct. I should be able, the same thing that I'm doing on this, which is using these knobs for effects, right? I could do the same thing on the Force, but wouldn't it be great if the things are interface instantly, right? Like the ins and outs automatically go to the computer, and then when the input, like how this thing has the external source button, I'm pretty sure you can figure out a way to like shift and some other button, make that the source button, right? And make it where I instantly got anything from my computer without having to switch it to controller mode. Controller mode is horrible. I said it. Nobody else is saying it to you. I said it. Controller mode sucks. And granted, on the MPC it makes sense. Why? You have an application. Whereas with the Force, even though it reads Ableton files, Ableton is not its application. And you know what I mean, Akai. You can't just load that thing up and just start making beats and it works directly with Ableton. It doesn't do that. It reads just the files. And since that's the case, keep playing it like that. Don't change it. Don't try to make it work with Ableton. We don't need that because you can MIDI that. You can do that. You can do that with MIDI. We don't need that. All we need is the minute it goes into the computer, it's class compliant, and I can sample anything into my from the computer into the Force. So if you got class compatibility, stem separation, what did I say? Class compatibility, stem separation, upgrade all the VSTs, right? Man, that's a killer combination right there. Class compatibility, stem separation, right? I can't remember what was the other one. Class compatibility, stem separation. I'm saying this thing too many times. My bad. But yeah, with the class compatibility, stem separation, updated to the new VSTs, right? Where we got all the VSTs that's in there. I don't see what else we would need. Just make the software. Oh, and the ability to load multiple Ableton projects into a Akai Force project. Multiple projects without it having to like reload and do all of this stuff. Because every time I try to load in a project, it automatically reloads. And because of the fact that I have been an Ableton user, that's the number one thing that I think Ableton does well. You can take one project and you can take one project, one Ableton set and load it into another project and keep loading other Ableton sets into that project. Why can't we have that on the Force? That's what the Force needs. The ability to load multiple projects into one project, stems, class compatibility, and upgrade the VSTs. If you could do those 4 things before you let go of this thing, right? Listen to what I'm saying. Before you let go, because I feel it, you're going to let go. I'm okay with it. I understand. You are a company. You're going to make new products. I get it. But here's what it is. Please fix this thing first. Don't bring out no new stuff and don't give this thing its just due. That's all I'm saying. It deserves it. It needs it. And hopefully you listen to me. And I'm hoping that everybody definitely agrees with me. I'm hoping that people agree with me. Right? And thanks for listening to this rant. Comment, like, subscribe.